No, I'm Raj Aadmi. I'm an entrepreneur here.
We're started, right, Dan?
Yeah, we're rolling.
Okay, perfect.
Raj Aadmi. I'm a entrepreneur here in beautiful British Columbia, Canada, and here with my lovely wife, Mannu.
Sorry, BC.
Thank you guys for coming on.
Yeah, we
Thank you for
appreciate
having
it.
us. I would like to introduce myself as Mannu Sandhu. Aadmi still waiting on paper somewhere, so it'll happen soon. But yeah, I'm Mannu Sandhu. I like to call myself a passionate person. A person that cares about other people and just is on this beautiful earth to live.
Nice. So Raj is known as probably one of the biggest real estate hustlers. I'm always watching your Instagram stories, 5 a.m. I'm like, fuck. I get out of bed at like 7. I'm like, fuck, man, I should have woke up a little earlier. And you guys recently got married?
Yes.
How's that going?
We lived together for 3 years, so 3.5 years. So nothing has changed after the wedding.
Yeah.
Maybe he had extra bills to pay during the wedding time, but other than that, no, nothing has changed. I think the fact that a very conventional thing that a lot of couples didn't do, so you always get the heat, right? Like, you guys live together, all of that. So we got to live together for 3 years, and I had made that decision long time ago that, if we were to get married, I want to live with the person to make sure he's somebody like I can put up with, vice versa. I'm somebody he can put up with. So it was a very important decision for me to live with him first.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that made the marriage happen. So nothing has changed.
Well, and I think a big factor that played into us was we originally didn't plan on moving in together, but COVID had its own way.
Yeah.
Where, when we first started dating, I think 6 months prior we started dating and then COVID hit. So then, as I was at home and I just had finished the house and I was kind of alone, and I was like, hey, if you're not doing anything, which you're not.
That's the story he likes to tell.
I should just hop on over.
I always say my dad was away in January and it was a good time to move in.
Yeah. I feel like that's becoming more of a norm though.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because
it wasn't 10 years ago when we were in our 20s. 30s, it was not normal.
Well, it wasn't socially acceptable from our culture. Really. Like, our parents would be like, holy crap, divorce was death. Getting to know the person was like not normal until you just got married, and then it's kind of too late.
I think that it is becoming a little bit normal. I think it's a good idea.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's good. The idea. I mean, it doesn't matter what relationship you're in, business, personal, all that stuff. Getting to know the person is, key to
100%.
have a long-term relationship, if it's going to work or not.
100%.
Yeah, that's why they say the line, right? Get into bed with the person. So even when you're doing business, you really get to.
I don't think they mean that literally, but.
No, I know. Get to know them in a way where you get to know them personally, right? Like, business doesn't happen with businesses. Like, business happens with relationships, right? So if you have a great relationship with somebody, you're gonna make a lot more business than just having a business.
100%. It's dope because like we were talking earlier, because he's got that hustler's mindset. He comes from like struggle where he's like brought himself up from, he went down to nothing, lost all his money, and then came back and is like on top of his game at this time.
You want to touch a little bit on that story?
Well, it's a deep story, a long story. I mean, I want to. It's something for me still till this day, it's quite emotional because I went through. Having said that, we're going through a tough time even now in terms of where our economics are, with interest rates getting hiked and all that stuff. So in 2008, we had a big downturn in the market, and I was growing exponentially at that time. I was in car dealerships, car washes, oil changes, real estate portfolio, all that stuff. And then ultimately, there came a time where revenue started dropping. We were just opening the car dealership. It was a big, 10,000 square foot basically showroom. We had spent $8-9 million just on the showroom alone. Wow. And then the banks were fully funding us, but at the time, some of the big automakers were going through bankruptcy themselves. So they had pooled their floor line, which was our car dealership line. So basically I had this beautiful building that I just spent, they had financed, and they didn't give me money for inventory. So I had a building with no cars to sell. It's like having a Canadian Tire saying, I'm going to have a Canadian Tire, but you have nothing inside the Canadian Tire to sell. Yeah. So I couldn't make any revenue. So I had to take all of our existing revenue resources, put them into the dealership, trying to build up that inventory when we were already leveraged because we were building so many other things at the same time. Then the interest rates went up. The market shifted where the economy went down, revenues dropped. So it was the perfect storm for all of our businesses, and the banks basically, in a nutshell, called the loan. And they said, you got to either restructure, we got to move on and refinance, or someone to buy it out. And when it came down to it, I thought we were going to restructure the loan and kind of give me like, you know, a principal relief, which was, you know, our payments at the time were just over $200,000 a month. So by principal relief, I would have brought my payment down to $100,000, which I could sustain. But they actually came and met with me and said, you know, instead of we giving you the principal relief, we're just going to take your company away. And that day, either you come up with the money, which I think was around $30 million that time, and I said, I can't make that happen, right? So, so you know, one thing led to another, and they kicked me out of my own company. So that was a huge struggle.
That is, yeah.
It was a few years of dark times. Really,
Yeah.
right?
And then was it just your like persistence that got you through that time, or?
There was a fork at that, you know, in that road where, you know, I thought, you know, I was going down a dark path.
Yeah.
You know, I was, you know, I thought it didn't kick in because I was on cloud nine since I was an entrepreneur since I was 13. So I was always just killing it. I mean, I was in with the, you know, the biggest bankers. They would show me around. I mean, take me to Vegas, take me to games all day long.
Yeah.
And we played poker together. And then all of a sudden that just changed where I went from, you know, at a time the company was, you know, at its peak was worth $100 million.
Yeah.
And then it went to zero when they walked me away. And they said that, you know, the only way you're going to be able to get this back is if you buy out our loan. But if you can't, then, you know, you're basically going to put you in bankruptcy, which they did. So during that time, you know, I had those options. I tried my best to try to recover, saying, "Look, you know, I can beg and plead with the bank." But then at that point, I realized the bank's not your friend when when you're, you know, even if you have a relationship with them, because you're just a number to them.
100%.
And for that couple of years, I kind of just brushed it under the rug, saying nothing really happened, and I was living, you know, basically, you know, my dad would help me out with cash. He'd say, here's $1,000 or 2 months to live, and you know, groceries and all that shit, and just, you know,
it was down, eh?
Oh, it was really bad.
Yeah.
And then then they got to that fork in the road a couple years later where I go, look, you know, it was a turning point actually, where I was at a McDonald's, and my debit card declined on a coffee.
Ouch.
And sat in that parking lot, and it just broke down. And then I said, there's two options here. Either I kill myself, or I turn around and I get back up, and I just figure out how to get out of this hole.
Yeah. And
then fortunately, at that turning point, I decided to get out of the hole. And by getting out of the hole I knew I had to fix myself first. And that was by making myself mentally, physically, and spiritually stronger. So, you know, the first thing I did was just get back into the gym, start working out, cleaned up my diet, stopped doing all the bullshit.
Little things.
Then I just went underground for a few years, and I found ways to earn. And one thing led to another, and, you know, once I got my confidence back, then there wasn't no looking back. Then I said, bring it.
Yeah.
Right? I just exponentially grew from there on in, and gained it all back and more.
Yeah. See, that's so important. I feel like the little things, like getting just your diet right, just working out, feeling stronger, feeling healthier, and then all of a sudden everything just starts clicking around, right?
One of the biggest lessons I've learned through that hardship was the fact of just making sure that you take care of yourself. You know, there's times in life that are going to hit you with whatever it may be. It could be a bad relationship, it could be a bad business, it could be, you know, something at home with your parents that's just driving you nuts or whatever it is. But if you're not physically and mentally strong, those things will affect you. But once you have that shit together, there's nothing out there that can stop you. Each and every one of us are capable of unimaginable things, but we just need to decide. And the only way we're going to decide is when you feel good about yourself. So that's why it's so important when I preach and I'm telling people, dude, there's a reason why I'm getting up focus. When I wake up at 3. From 3 to 5 is just primary focus on myself. I don't care about anything else, right? I go strengthen myself, get some meditation in, get my greens in, just whatever it is to feel good throughout my day and set the tone for the rest of that day. And then it becomes like a shield.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what hits me throughout that day, you can't break me, right? And that is probably one of the biggest secrets that I could give anybody is saying, first, focus on yourself. Everything else will come in time, right? And once you have confidence, you can dominate anything, right?
Yeah, you can walk into those meetings feeling.
Well, and it's like people always say, like, dude, how'd you do it without money, or how do you do that? Well, things will come to you if you're out there with the right intentions in the universe. Opportunities will open up, but you have to be open to them.
Yeah.
So if you're not open to when God or the universe or whatever is bringing stuff to you, you're actually closing the door to so much stuff that you don't even realize. And that's because you're not content on your own, and you're not strong enough on your own to take it when it comes, right? And that's what I realize is, like, it doesn't matter which situation it is. I could have a bad day today, and I may have lost an opportunity today. But if I had a great day today and that same opportunity came, I would have monopolized on it. And that's the difference between having control over yourself.
Shift in that perspective.
Having that structure.
Yeah, it's that mindset, right? It's that same mindset. And generally, I mean, okay, we're on this planet for a short amount of time.
100%.
Right? So why not make the best of it while we're here? And feeling good, generally speaking, is more than the money, right, aspect of it, right?
Yeah.
Just feeling good about yourself and good energy around you, and surrounding yourself with those types of individuals that are strong and positive, and your just life's good, right? Whereas you get that one person that can just drain you, and that just takes your whole mood down and everything else around you.
Yeah.
Like, our energy is, it's vibrating amongst all of us.
Yeah.
So when you're in that surrounding, you can either have that people level you up or bring you back down, right? So.
Yeah, speaking of that, like, how has your guys' energy kind of, like, fed off each other over the few years?
Great.
Yeah.
No, it's really heartwarming to know his story as well from an outsider. I've known him for a long, long time, but as an acquaintance, as a friend, but never at a personal level. So anytime he shares that story, like, it makes me want to cry, because now that I know him personally, it's even harder, like when he says, like, oh, I at one point thought, like, I could live with like $2,000, So I'm like, wow, like looking at that, like, you go from a level at where you spend endlessly, and then all of a sudden you think that, oh, you can just live off a smaller amount, right? So looking at his heartbreak, all of that was difficult for me as well. And I think our relationship is because, yes, we come across as a power couple, but we also have an understanding where if something means something to him, I also give in, and vice versa. Same, so it's never a selfishness. It doesn't come from selfishness. It comes from giving.
Yeah.
And I think relationships really elevate when you're in that giving space. So I think in the beginning, it was like understanding the love language. For him, it was like, what the hell is that, right? Like, what do you even mean? Because we're never educated on that. And then as you hear other people saying, like, hey, I understand what your love language is, right? So then during COVID times, we started doing more research on it. We're like, we should understand, like, what makes me happy and what makes you happy. So he'll throw that back at me. Oh, this is not my love language, right? Or like whatever he's doing. So I'm like, okay, I get it, right? So just trying to learn about each other. I think that was the biggest way to make sure we could hold our energies at the same level. And there's times where, I'm not happy. Sometimes he's not happy, right? So
I'll
just
walk by and say, I feel your energy.
But it's also that willingness. I feel, right?
Yeah, of course. And it's understanding, like, our backgrounds, where we're coming from, right? Like, their family moved here 50 plus years ago. We moved here like 23 years ago, right? So we're still a newer family.
Yeah.
So understanding how he works, he's a little more old school, so just making things work at the end, and having that end goal of like, hey, we're in a relationship, so we're going to make things work instead of trying to be apart. Let's figure out a way to, be closer in whatever way. So one of the things he hates is, like, if he's mad, he can't stay mad for too long. Because I'm just poking around to be like, let's talk about it, right?
Yeah, I want to go for a walk. She's like, nope, come here. I'm like,
Fix the problem.
Like, fix the problem, because that's only when you can move on. Because if you're angry and like then you can't even think straight, right?
Yeah.
Like get over it, think straight, and then go from there. So I think being with each other, we've learned a lot more about each other as well. So
Yeah.
it's really great.
Being more recent to Canada for you, like I've seen you talk about it a few times on social media. Has that been a challenge for you at times?
What's that?
Like being more recent to Canada, like you said, you came here about 23 years ago. Was that like a big challenge?
Oh, of course. I mean, when I moved here at 13, 14, I felt like I was like almost 30 years old when I moved here, right?
Yeah.
My biggest goal was when we were discussing the whole like real estate aspect, I wanted to buy a house for my mom because we actually were renting back home. We had a family home, but we were renting where my dad was. And the biggest thing was like, I want to own a house. And
Yeah.
then I don't know any other 14-year-old that would come to Canada and be like, I want to own a house,
Yeah.
right? So that was stuck in my mind for
This-
so
yeah.
long that I didn't stop till I got my house at 20, 21, right?
Oh,
like
wow.
I saved up so much money. Like I did 3 jobs. So for me, real estate is very close to me in terms of like being able to create wealth. And it was very difficult for me to save money, like say no to so many outings I could have done
Yeah.
with friends and all of that. My mom was a very strong pillar for us. So was my sister. So we were able to get the house we wanted, you know? And my sister just yesterday told me, she's like, honestly, if you didn't pull that plug, we would have not, maybe we didn't have a house at that point, and now it'd be almost impossible to afford one, right? So for me, educating people on real estate is so important, and being with him and learning how to create wealth from is now, like, it just completes the whole package. It's like
Yeah.
at 14, I came and I wanted knowledge, and now have a partner that gives me a lot more knowledge.
And you guys can kind of feed off each other.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things that attracted me towards her over the years was her work ethic. I mean, and her story is incredible. I mean, coming as an immigrant, working, I mean, with her mom and just, you know, multiple jobs,
Yeah.
putting that all together, buying a house, getting to the level, and still till this day, she supports the family and the house. And I'm like, you know, that's such a touching story in itself, and really inspiring even to me. You know, she works really hard, right? And I just try to teach her, just, okay, you can work really hard, but you can also work really smart. So, you know, she likes working for money. I like money working for me,
Yeah.
right? And those are things that we work together as a couple to strengthen each other, right? And she, I mean, just the inspiration that she's done around her and how she treats people and all that kind of stuff levels me up, saying, you know, I got to be a better human, regardless of wealth or, you know, and work ethic and all that stuff. It's just being a good human that makes a huge impact in this world, right? And that's what's
100%.
really inspiring, right?
Yeah. 100%. And do you guys feel like I feel like in today's day, like one of the most difficult conversations for couples to have is like understanding that like the financial needs are a big part of relationships. Has that ever been like a question in your guys' relationship where it's like, where are we gonna be? Where do we want to be? Do any of you ever feel the pressure from one another? Whereas you're kind of like constantly like, okay, well, he's here or she's here, I got to get up there. Or, you know, like he wakes up at 4 a.m. Are you ever like, I want to sleep in today?
Oh, yeah. I think it's a great question. It can be answered in so many beautiful ways. There's hardships of that. You know, being with somebody that's successful has a lot more pressure, but I also am built like that where I want the pressure where if I didn't have that, like, where would I go, right? So, like, I picked a partner that I know is going to elevate me for sure. Of course, you know, we always talk about, hey, you live in this house, I probably can't even afford it, right? Like if I was to live in this house, I can't afford it, but I'm so thankful that I'm able to because he can, right? So we have those conversations constantly.
Well, technically, I couldn't even have that house if it wasn't for you because I can't take care of it. So, so it's actually your house.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
the puppet, remember?
Yeah. So it's balancing each other out, right? Like knowing your strength. Like if he's bringing that to the table, so I also have to do my part to make sure the house is now taken care of as responsibility of a wife, you know? So knowing your positions in your relationship is really important. And I find like in relationship that could be very daunting. Sometimes like if a woman doesn't understand or the man doesn't understand, like the relationship can go sideways.
100%.
So if there's things that like I'm leveraging from him, vice versa, I'm letting him leverage that from me as well, you know? So it's having that understanding and not making it like, oh, well, you're doing this for me, so I'm doing this for you, you know? Like having
Not like
that clear
favors,
concept.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I think
it can be favors.
I think there's a
you know, that's
there's also a misconception about, you know, of how that household works. For example, I am really shitty to taking care of the household. So, you know, and I, a lot of my friends say I've had multiple houses, in my life, but she's actually made it a home. And the fact that she's made it a home has given me comfort to continuously level up on the outside. So what is that value? So it doesn't matter if I'm making X and she's making Y and I'm 10X on her or whatever the number is. That's a big part of it, because if I have peace at home, I'm unstoppable outside.
100%.
So I can't, if someone puts a value on, well, how much do you make or how much does she make, and you make way more money than her, you can afford this. Well, technically I can't afford it without her, because I wouldn't be where I'm going and the direction I am today if she wasn't there. So I, when people say, in that wealth conversation and stuff like that, I go, don't think about your peace of mind. Now, having said that, it could go the opposite. If she was a crazy and I was driving me crazy all day long, then I might be going the opposite way, right?
And then I also feel like, you know how like they say social media isn't always true? Like, I feel like there's times where, like, for people that we see on social media, you always see the good parts or the happiness. Is there times where you guys kind of struggle with each other, or, there's times where you guys have to kind of be like, okay, we need to communicate better, or there's arguments?
All the time. And it's something that we all have to be open about, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's no perfect relationship.
100%.
We have arguments.
No, I'm perfect, right?
Yeah, you're perfect. My argument, but you have to understand the personality, right? Like, he could be very heady at one point, and now if I'm heady at the same time, it's gonna collide, right? So like, if he's heady and I'm gonna just take a step back and let it be, it's better, right? So if we can understand those parts of our relationship, that's just what's gonna help us grow, right? Because over time, we lose patience with each other, right? We see it with our parents. Like, our parents fight all the time, like, and then you're like, where are you learning this behavior? So like, it's on our generation to be like, okay, how are we becoming more understanding, right? Like, if he's coming from work and I'm going crazy, of course then he's gonna blow up. But then you also have to take that step back from like, say if I'm coming home and I'm tired, I'm like, I'm really tired, babe, then he won't ask me for XYZ. So creating that understanding is really, really important in the relationship. So yeah, it's a normal part of life, getting into those.
It's how you handle situations. Like she had said, I'm the kind of guy that needs space and needs to walk away for a few hours. She needs it resolved in a few minutes. She will not let us go to bed at night if we're in an argument. She'll say, I'm solving this. And she'll annoy the shit out of me until it gets fixed. So I'm like, I have to cave.
Because we hear it all the time. Like, we might not wake up the next day, right? Like, you don't know what's going to happen the next day. There could be an earthquake. I don't know. We could be gone, right? There could be a tsunami that can hit us. And then, like, why leave with that awkward feeling at night when all you have to do is, like, do a little hug and be like, okay, I'm, maybe not even say sorry, but, just be like, okay, it's done, it's over. It's over.
Our fights last max a few minutes.
Yeah.
Right? And then it's solved, right? And it's usually me. I'm usually the temper tantrum guy, and she's the one, the calming voice, and she'll poke me, I'll blow up, and then she'll calm me down in 2 minutes, and then it's over.
Yeah. So to his mom, I tell her, I'm like, I'm the fireman in his life. I'm just like, behind him, just like putting out fire. He's too hot right now. I gotta put out this fire.
Hey, you guys are both like really into fitness as well. Like, how did you guys kind of get? Have you guys always both been into it? Like, 'cause I see you guys like on Instagram, like maybe like posting like run
you
on a
go
treadmill, like stuff like that.
I do want to bring up the point of social media as well. Sorry, I completely missed it, and it's such an important point to make sure. Yeah, we only post great things, right? The other day I was having something sweet, and my friend was standing next to me. He's like, "Are you gonna post that?" I'm like, "Actually, no, but I am gonna eat it. Like, I'm not gonna deny that I don't eat it." So it is like, you put up all of your motivational stuff and good stuff. Sometimes, like, we frown upon people that cry on social media, right? Like, we're like, what is this person doing?
Or they're doing it for attention.
Yeah, like, there's never a big balance. So like, today, if I start complaining about something that I'm not happy with, people are gonna be like, why is she complaining, right? Yeah. So you do pick the things that you want to post on there, which I want to keep my life private as well. So 100%. Like, I will post whichever will make me happy, but I also know the real me, you know? Like, if I'm having a bad day, I'm going to make sure I have a better day before I start posting things, right? And I think he feels the same way. Like, he's still a private person, even though he's so much on social media. Like, he still has a private life,
100%. I think the thing with social media, like we were talking earlier, like the new generation sees lapses of like someone's life, and like they don't understand like the struggle, like yourself, like you know, you might have everything or whatever somebody might want today, but they don't understand the struggle and the years you've been in the industry, right?
Well, I guess society sees the fruits of labor,
Yeah.
and you know, obviously social media is a highlight reel, right? I mean, in some degree we're trying to motivate others. In some degrees, I mean, you know, you're excited for yourself, for your
Yeah.
personal wins.
Yeah.
Like if I'm posting a car, I'm excited.
100%.
I'm passionate about the
Yeah.
cars. But it's also motivating the right people. But it also attracts hate. But you know, you got to position the way you feel you're trying to make an impact, right? So if I'm actively on there trying to make people better, I genuinely care to make people better because, you know, we can give all the money out and financially to support people, but giving the tools to learn, to earn on their own, and just to be positive people levels them up on their own. So
100%.
that's way more value than giving them a check.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think society, you know, looks at social media now, and we're just it seems like everyone's on edge, right?
Oh yeah.
Right. And it's just like, you know, someone just, you know, you post something and they look at it the wrong way, and 90% of people might love it, 10% might hate on it, whatever else. But as long as you're just doing you, just continue to do you, and just be that good human, you're gonna win, right?
Yeah, and it is a big marketing tool too, right? Like, why are we sitting here now doing podcasts? Because we want the right message to also go to the right people, you know.
Yeah.
So it's definitely important. And then of course working out as well. Like for me, it's always been something that I've done as a kid. Part of my life has been, I think, same for him. Like he's been in, you know, in his field doing his own thing with working out. So
I come from you know, my dad is, you know, 87 years old, and you know,
Sprinting.
he's a real inspiration, right? He's still till this day running and is, you know, his mind's super clear. So he's a true you know, testament to what exercising and fitness does.
Yeah.
You know, you live long and you live happy. I mean, we don't want to be 80 years old and walking around in a crane and cane and you're bent over and you're just not enjoying life.
Yeah.
If we're going to age, I want to age gracefully and enjoy my life.
Yeah.
Right?
Talking about your dad, my chacha actually told me a story. He was like, I was sitting in a drip lounge one time, and he's like, I was sitting next to, I guess it was your dad, and he's talking to him. He's telling him how he's like running on the track and he goes for runs, and my chacha's like, I asked him how old he was, and I guess he said he was like 80 or around that age, and my chacha was like, what the hell? Like he was blowing away, right?
Yeah.
Because he looks so much younger than he is, and that goes to what you say, like taking care of your health mentally.
Yeah.
You know, all that stuff adds up to a longer
life and a happier life, right? And that's what it goes back to, is like taking care of ourselves. It's like, what's the point in going through this life if, you know, we've been given this gift? Yeah. So why are we destroying ourselves to live in this world, in this realm, when we are only here for a short time? So just make the best of it, and that's the best way to do is make yourself feel good. And there's no question, fitness makes you feel good. Right?
Yeah,
going for a walk even every day is a game changer from sitting on the couch and eating chips.
Yeah.
I like eating chips too, though.
Yeah, oh, exactly.
Balance.
We all do. And, you know, and let's be honest too. I mean, in life we'll have different times where even we slack, right? And we're like, nah, Jim, it's not even feel like it, right? It's not motivated itself, and we need to whip ourselves. But I think one year we did that couples challenge for New Year's, right?
Oh yeah, the 45-day one,
45-day couples challenge, because we weren't motivated. So, right? So
I know the other day too, I'm like, we really need to do a challenge again. He's like, I'm already on it. You need to be on it. Do you remember when you told me that you were on it in the summertime and you picked up me? I'm like, really? Okay, I guess I need to be on it. So yeah, having like that reality check too, like having him wake up at 3. I'm a late sleeper, so when he does like throw his pillows right at me when he gets up, like it's like, and I'm like, honestly, you just hit me in the face.
He wakes
hit me
the
in the
dog up
face.
too. I've seen the poor dog's trying to sleep.
he moved out. The dog moved out.
So I'm like, I do wake up early as well. 3 a.m. is earlier for me, so I like to be a little bit later because I'd also sleep a little bit later, just because I finish so many chores at home, you know, like things that the man in the family doesn't have to do. Yeah. But yeah, just in general, like I'll sleep a little later. I'll wake up maybe an hour later than him. But what we're doing for the last, I think, 6 months now is we're not posting that we're waking up. I don't know, you know, it's a new thing that we're doing, but not seeing our messages right in the morning and actually meditating for that half an hour. Doesn't matter where we are, what's happening. I am not looking at my messages. He's not looking at his messages, because the moment you're scrolling, like it'll start at 3 a.m. right? So giving ourselves that time in the morning and actually just saying like, I'm not awake for the world. I'm going to meditate and then I'll go on my phone is something we're religiously doing right now.
So you guys are pretty spiritual in that sense.
We've come over the years more and more because we realize how much it's helped us.
I think for me, it's just getting to know me. I don't know if that's spirituality. Like, I don't know the exact definition, but it just, like, last night I went to sleep and when I woke up at 2 for some reason, and I was just like, all of these negative thoughts were in my head of like, because I run a big film festival, like things that people were saying and doing and hurtful, and I was like being in the negative mindset. It was just like circling so fast, and I'm like, let it circle. Let it just all come out, you know? But because and then I'm on the other side, I'm saying, that is not me. You're making me think all of these things, but that is not me, right? Like, let that process happen. Yeah. Yes, that person's mean. This is this. All of that was happening to my head, and I'm like, but that's not me. At the end of the day, I'm like, I'm going to sleep. I'm going to wake up. I'm going to do my meditation, and I'm going to get out of this rut, you know? And that's what me and him are getting mentally stronger, because that's what's going to help us long term.
100%.
Because if we're in that rut of like just complaining about people and then just kind of walking away from it and not even acknowledging, is when we're mentally hurting ourselves. But it's knowing that you're doing it and then you're saying like, that's not me, is what's going to help us grow. So it's a very important thing that anybody that wants to take away something from here today is get to know yourself. Don't be in that mental rut. Really explain yourself like why you're doing it, and then that's really not you. It's your brain kind of just manipulating you to be like, this is the person you are. This is the person you are, but you're not that person, you know? So.
How was your film festival?
Congratulations.
Yeah,
though.
congratulations as well. Yeah.
Somebody talked about it now.
It's all yours.
No, it is honestly, it's been a life-changing experience for me. I got to know myself as an actor too. Like, people say, you know, acting, like you're an actor, great, but acting has so many benefits. Like, it made me educate on who I am, right? Like, really bringing out my personality, really letting me be open on stage. Like he was saying, like, we're never open. Like, if you're not open, you're not going to receive. So as an actor, I'm like, I'm here. Just give me everything. Like, whatever I'm supposed to get, just get. Like, just take it all. Because I was a very shy person too. So acting helped me so much. And when I started producing this beast of a festival that I'm doing now, it's leveled me up, you know, in my personality, in my getting to know people politically. I'm just such a diplomatic person, which I always imagined I would be, you know, having these associations, because I didn't come from that family. Like my dad was really well-to-do, you know, educated, but I'm like, I needed to make my own connection. So the festival was where I was like, I am going to level up and meet the people that are way beyond me to make sure I get there one day as well. So the festival has been really incredible. Again, a source of where I can learn a lot about myself.
Where did that idea come up for this festival?
It was actually a gift to me, I would say. You know, 2 actresses that were doing the festival couldn't run it anymore, and they literally said, hey, here's a crown we've been wearing. Can you wear it and just run with it? And that's how I explain it. That's how beautifully it came to me as a gift, and I learned from it along with my sister, and this is our 9th year we just ran it, and it's become one of the largest South Asian festivals right now in Canada.
Congratulations.
Mm-hmm.
And you said there was a little bit of negative kind of
things. If there's no negative, you're not growing, right? So there has to be negative.
Drama people love drama.
How was that? And how did you kind of deal with that?
I honestly, I think a few years ago I would have been a lot more in pain, but the negative message I shared with him too, and we kind of laughed about it, and then it was kind of hurtful. Again, like going in your mind, like, why is this person saying this? But then I also felt like a sense of just like elevated, right? Like, I'm like, I've now become a little bit higher than like what I was supposed to be, right? Because now these people are complaining to me about something that I've now produced, and they can't be a part of it, you know? So yeah, I think it was a very beautiful feeling of like growth. I think that's the right way to say it, is I felt like I grew, and all of a sudden these messages they were hurtful, but they didn't mean anything at the end of the day.
So for you, looking at her, you know, throw this big festival and like flourish into that person, looking from the sidelines, how'd you feel?
Again, it's just been, because I've seen it happen now for, you know, this 4th year.
4 year, yeah.
And year over year, she keeps leveling up.
Yeah.
And every time I even walk into the festival, even when I did this year, I was like, holy shit, I can't believe she did this. And you know, last year I thought was fantastic. So, you know, that passion and that drive and everything she's put into this just reflects of what kind of person she is and how strong she is to apply those to anything in this world. You can just keep leveling up, and that doesn't matter. I mean, I could be in business doing the same thing, but she's doing it in this aspect and the same thing, and she's creating such a voice for the South Asian community that it's a huge way of giving back as well, and upping our community. And you know, what you mentioned is like, you know, you'll get those haters and stuff, but I go, that's a sign of you leveling up, right? Because as you continue to grow, it's like, you know, you just keep pushing up, and you'll have people fall off, and people are trying to bring you back down. Yeah. So let those guys go and keep moving. Yeah. Right. And you know, this just the doors that this opens, not just for her, for me even. Right? Oh, your wife is holding this festival, right? I got bankers banging on the door.
he got in Getty, that's why he's really happy.
What is Getty? No, we're at the first day.
What is Getty? But yeah, I think the magic of it is that we had over 200 artists that came to our festival.
Wow.
Now, that is a platform where we want people to grow. You know, we want them to get Surrey is going to become the next place where the big project is going to happen. Like Mindy Kaling did a project in LA, we talk about it. That is going to be Surrey, and I am going to make sure I am behind the talent when that happens, you know. So,
what's your goal with this festival? Like, where do you see it going?
Honestly, I'm running it as a business. You know, I want to run it because I have passion for it, but then making it into a business is where I want to take it. So I get inspired by Cons, Tiff. Like, these are my inspiration. Like, he knows how much I talk about these festivals, and I'm like, that's exactly what I want to bring to the city of Surrey, because we're the fastest growing city at this time. So you can imagine having a Tiff in Surrey is what I want to take it to.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I also feel like there's like a lot of kids that want to, you know, be entrepreneurs and be into business and like get it done. Like, what do you have like for tips for them to like how do they start about it?
Well, first of all, you do want to be passionate about something, right? I mean, I've always been passionate about real estate, so it was something that I wanted to focus on. So it really, it depends on, you know, what field they want to be in. But when it comes to entrepreneurship, it's always about systems and structures. You know, the first thing is put a plan together, right? So, you know, let's just say you want to open up a restaurant, right? The first thing in entrepreneurship you should do is build a business plan, build a financial model. Those two key elements will basically be your diary that's going to continuously evolve into your business. When anything I open up, I'll first just build this short business plan to myself to understand me now, knowing business so well. At the end of it, I just fast forward it to the ROI, saying, okay, well, what's the black and white numbers? How much do I got to earn, and what's my gross margins and profitability? But getting to that step, like, okay, what's it going to take for my funding? You know, how much money do I need to do this? How much money do I have to come in myself? How much money do I have to get financed? How am I going to get financed? How am I going to market my product? How am I going to, you know, what's the kind of labor I'm going to, you know, associate percentage-wise to this business? What am I going to do in terms of, you know, expanding this business model? Who's my competition? All these things come to fruition as you know, just start putting things in paper. So the biggest advice is start a plan. Right? Start a plan on whatever direction you want to go, and then that starts you've taken action already. You know, 99% of people want to do something in business, but, you know, only 1% will start. And, you know, out of that 1%, a lot will fail, but they won't quit. They'll just keep evolving, right? They'll keep evolving, and they'll figure it out with whatever direction they want. So, you know, my advice has always been start with your plan and then execute.
I feel like execution, like you said, a lot of people kind of give up at that point, you know?
It's too hard. It's you're and that goes back to spirituality.
Yeah.
You know, going through meditation or strengthening yourself, you give up, right? And I learned a lot even through meditation. When you're in the meditation, your mind is telling you to get off. Let's go check your phone.
Yeah.
Let's go do this. Let's go do that. You got to tell your mind to shut the F up, right? And don't stop. Just keep going through it. Same goes for business. People will start, you know, some majority will fall off, and they just will just let it ride because they just follow it through. You're going to have forks in the road continuously, and there's going to be ups and downs in business nonstop. I'm sure you guys have experienced stuff in your own life with, you know, with business ventures. So to me, it's just like, just don't quit. There's nothing, you got nothing to lose, right?
Yeah.
Right? Other than, you know, if you pass away, then you're not going to do business anyways, right? But other than that, just keep going.
Yeah, I think failing enough times and then getting up is probably the best way to learn, instead of not taking that chance, you know, like not answering that one phone call that could have been your next opportunity or whatever it is, right? Like you have to make sure you fail enough time. Like I've probably failed. I still fail all the time, you know. If I don't get a call from somebody I've messaged or like reached out to, that's a fail for me. But hey, at least I tried, you know. So you have to try all the time.
And failures end up being your biggest blessings.
Yeah.
Because that's how you learn, right? I mean, I remember when I was in school and, you know, I was at UBC and I dropped out. And I was listening to my instructor and I'm like, okay, well, I just started analyzing myself. Okay, if he's teaching me business, why is he here?
That's what I used to say.
I don't know he dropped out of UBC.
And then I started a franchise.
Yeah.
And the biggest lesson I learned in my life was, in terms of operating a business, was running a franchise. And that was a Quiznos franchise when I was 18 years old.
Wow.
And that business taught me everything. It was way more than school. Taught me how to manage money. Taught me how to hire employees. Taught me how to market my business. Taught me how to make sandwiches. I mean, right? It taught me how to run.
He doesn't make them anymore.
Yeah, but I mean, just those systems and structures. So, you know, if someone is really passionate about business and they've got their plan, but they're just still uncomfortable, what I recommend to them also is, dude, if you have the funds in place, get into a franchise. Right, jump into Subway, get into, you know, anything that's a proven model in North America or in the world, that's already doing well in other markets, or it's already doing well in our market, but you can just learn from. You'll learn more, you know, buying a $300,000 or $400,000 Subway than you will spend in 10 years in school learning at Commerce on how to become a businessman, right? Because you're hands-on. And you'll learn, you'll go up and down, but that will teach you, that'll be your foundation for whatever else you're going to excel at. And once you learn all those things from everybody else, well, now it's easy to start your own business, right? It's like someone's already done the systems for you, the structures. And so why do I have to go through school to learn how to do marketing when I'm forced to do it in my own business, right? You don't have a choice then.
Yeah,
right?
that's very true. You have to. Kind of
Just a disclaimer, still go to school if you have to.
Yeah. It's good to have a foundation.
Yeah.
No, I think how he explains it is really good because sometimes you, like, even as an immigrant, like being the eldest child, I didn't get a chance to go to school. Like I really had to self-discover a lot of things myself. So how he says it, just put yourself in the field, learn it. And then also don't give your 100%, give your 200%, because people that are working for you will only give you 100% if you're giving your 200%. And that's what I learned from him is he always gives his 200%. That's why people that work for him are like at 100% with him, you know. So
Well, lead by
education
example
is-
too.
Yeah, education is great, but you also have to put all of those things in place. You know? I would love to go back now to go get my master's, you know, because I'm like, it'll be something really good for me to have, you know. And we discuss that all the time, like when and if I ever get a chance, I would love to go back to school, you know. So school has its importance, but you definitely learn more in the field.
Yeah, I mean, good to be. I mean, you know, I was talking to even a few friends of mine. They go, you know, they're putting these schools, going through private schools and learning social studies and all this kind of stuff. It's great history. I mean, you figure all that stuff out for general knowledge and stuff like that. But our discussion was, well, what would be more value? Should we spend $50,000 a year in a private school, or spend $50,000 letting the child travel around the world and like, really
Right.
experience the world? Right?
Go and work, go to Europe, go work, you know.
You know, I've heard a lot of people talk about that though. Like they let their kids kind of go off and travel. I remember like when I graduated in 2013, I asked my parents and they were like, "Get your ass to school, right?"
Yeah,
Is that old school mentality? Like,
of course.
go 3 or 4 years. But then I had friends that went and traveled, and then like now they have like successful businesses, and they're like, you know,
Yep.
in that entrepreneurial world because they took so much from like different countries. different
Well,
experiences.
and more importantly, what's the most powerful thing in terms of business is street smarts,
Yeah, exactly.
right? I mean, I hate to say this, but very, very smart people work for dumb entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Agreed.
But those dumb entrepreneurs are street smart.
Yeah.
You know? But you know, when it comes to education or academics, they don't know shit.
yeah,
Yeah.
agreed. Yeah, 100%.
Right?
can't
So
do the math formula.
right,
but-
exactly. I'll hire a guy that understands calculus inside out. I don't know
Yeah.
the first
Yeah.
thing about it.
Yeah.
But I like you, you like me. Let's get together.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And you can crunch the numbers for me.
Exactly.
And that's like big corporations too. I feel like, because like, you know, like even like some people were talking about it. I was watching a podcast and they were talking about how like school systems are created for, you know, people to get used to the idea of working that 9 to 5 so that they can come and work for these bigger corporations.
absolutely. You know, another thing that we're living in a completely different society now, like just being here today and discussing the things we are discussing. How many feeds are out there that you can just learn from, and you learn way more than school?
Yeah.
Right? You kind of have a jump start from just listening to people's stories of how they've excelled. So like dropping nuggets like, hey, dude, go buy a franchise or go do this because you're going to fast forward.
That's big.
Right? We didn't know that when we were kids. Yeah. Our parents said, become a doctor, become a lawyer, and get married. Right? Engineer, right?
Yeah, they'd rather pay that $100K for you to go to school for 4 years and come out with nothing.
Exactly. You get a career for $200,000, but what is $200,000 a year once the government takes our taxes? What are you left with?
Nothing.
Right? You're lucky to get $1 million house, which is the average now in Surrey.
Yeah.
Right? So that's crazy to me. When I look at it, I'm like, man, this system's flawed.
Yeah.
So if I was going to, look from perspective of training, I mean, yes, you need school fundamentally for the basics and all that stuff. There's no question about that. But there's certain things that are being wasted in school, and that's because we're in a society, we're in this like little bubble where this is what you're supposed to do, and this is how you're supposed to go through kindergarten. You're supposed to go through all these things. Oh, you can't travel a year. That's crazy. You're going to miss out on grade 11.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'd rather just fail grade 11, travel a year, come back and do grade 11 again with new knowledge, and that child or that teenager is going to be way smarter.
100%.
Right, and really be able to attack the world when it comes into coming into the business realm or the business or career realm or whatever they choose.
Well, I think now because of where we are in terms of technology and stuff, you can work from anywhere, right? Like there's entrepreneurs that are making money at a young age, and I'm like, I wish I can have those kind of like tiny bit like tidbits of like learning how to do it, right? Whether it be e-commerce or whatever it is, like they're traveling the world and they're working and they're making tons of money. So I think new opportunities with technologies also come, and we didn't have that opportunity at that time. So it is nice to see, the 9-to-5 mentality is changing. People can work remotely however they want. So we always talk about it. Like people don't want to work as hard because there's so many other opportunities that are available for them to cash in from. So
well, we're honest. Like even we're falling behind now. I mean, once I've been trying my best to stay up on AI, but it's just evolving so fast, and the people that I guess the generation prior us are so much more quicker at figuring this stuff out.
Yeah.
That I'm like, holy! Even typing on a phone is like, my hands don't even fit.
Yeah.
Right, and they're like, writing essays in a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. How important is that for you, like to try to stay ahead of that curve, considering where this like younger generation is just like,
So it's. If I want to continuously level up, I have to stay on that curve of technology, because in the next 10 years, especially with AI being launched, it's going to evolve even faster than it ever did. However, one thing I do know where I'm really good at, and that's the old school method, is real estate, where that's one thing they can't take away, that I know if I continuous in that, regardless of getting into AI and really leveling up, I can still grow in that pattern, because real estate is going to get more expensive. Doesn't matter which market we're in, right? So if you're looking at a long-term play, 20 years, if you have a property worth $1 million today, it could be $20 million in 20 years.
You really, yeah.
Well, because look at the population density.
Yeah.
Look what's happened in the last decade. You just look at historical data of what happens to real estate, right? And especially when you can have real estate that cash flows, now you're just a win-win, right?
It's a renter's market.
It sounds impossible. Like, look at our condos that are like $500,000 now, and then we used to be able to buy a house. Can you imagine those same condos being like 1 million in 10 years? Like, I can't wrap my head around that, but it will eventually.
It's going to happen, right? It's going to keep happening. So, going back in technology again, I'm passionate about it because I think I'm excited about it. And one of the things that we're working on building right now is longevity clinics, right? And online presence where you can extend life, whether that be through just monitoring your systems, your blood, monitoring what your vitamin levels, stem cells, which I just tried. There's some crazy shit that's going on out there in this world that they're saying in the next decade, humans potentially, especially with AI supporting us, could live and work till 150 years old. And I go, you know what? If I'm working this hard right now, I want to retire at some point, maybe, right?
I want to enjoy it.
Maybe at 130-ish, I'll retire.
That's what I was wondering. Like, do you ever think about retiring, or you're just gonna like?
Well, retirement is funny. I mean, I guess. People, I get asked that, bro, like, you have enough money to live and be comfortable, right? And I go, it's not about the money. It's the passion about the business, right? That's what I enjoy. I don't want to get old. So if I didn't work and I retired, I think I'd grow old because I wouldn't have any drive.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't, even when you go travel, it's like, okay, I get homesick in a week. So it's like 2 weeks out of here. I'm like, that's going to be pushing it. What do I do? Like, I got to get back and find some property, man.
Yeah, I see that because even when you guys are traveling and you kind of always focus, like even when you're out there, you're always looking like you were looking at that robot, that AI, and you're like ROI. And I'm like, are we gonna have that out here now too? But how do you come in at times and like pull them back and be like, look, just enjoy it? Do you ever do you ever see yourself like kind of having to do that? Be like, hey, just kind of like enjoy the moment. Whereas I feel like he's a hustler, and hustlers are always like, you know.
I think he's just on like all the time, so it's kind of hard. Like I try my best, but you know.
But she enjoys it too, because she's always like, oh, that's true. That's a good idea, right? Yeah. I'm always throwing out ideas. Like, I wonder how that would work, like the robot. I go, okay, this thing, you know, but in Vancouver, they're probably going to jack it.
That's what I kept thinking. I was like, someone's going to like, rob that thing.
When we were not in a relationship, if I did that to my sister, I would come up with all these ideas, you know, of business and all that. She's like, why do you always talk about making money, right? And I'm like, I don't know. She doesn't understand me. And then all of a sudden I have this man who's always pestering me with all these ideas. I'm like, that's what my sister probably felt like, you know. But we're kind of in the same level. Like at our reception too, my brother was like, my sister's really strict. She's my second mom and all of that, right? He's like in his mid-20s.
Yeah.
And he's like, then Raj Aadmi came into her life. And then I was like, now I understand, you know, like somebody that could even handle her because her brain is always going
on.
So it's kind of the same level, but I like to step back and have some time, you know, to do things that I enjoy doing as well. Whereas he just says he's very like, he has one vision and then he just focuses on that. Whereas like women just tend to have multiple things that they do. So.
Yeah, I mean, she always has bright ideas, but I go, look, you know, I like talking about the ideas, but if I'm going to execute, well, then all my other ideas disappear, and I just zone in and I focus, and then I accomplish that, and then once I'm content, and my brain's kind of over it, then I'll move on to the next thing.
Yeah, and I've seen it. Like I've actually seen him do that, and I can say that he commits to it fully. Like whether it be a property, he will like look at it, and because his brain just works so fast, he's like, I'm already done the calculation, and I'm like, wow. Great, I'll pull up my business plan now, you know. So it can be very kind of you know, intimidating too at the same time, where like you've already done the whole business, where I'm still like picking up my pen and just writing down like the number itself.
The numbers are already crunched.
And how did you get into? Oh, sorry.
How did I?
Or I was gonna say, how did you get into real estate?
Well, there was a combination of a few things. He saw me work really, really hard on production sets, so I would come home at like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, and then go to a production set at like 4 in the morning, right? And he's like, what the hell? Like, what do you do on this production set, right? Because we're doing like 17, 18-hour days. And then all of a sudden when COVID hit, like March, 16 hours, easy, right? So he'd be just sleeping and I'd be leaving, and then I'd be coming home and he'd still be sleeping because he's gone to bed now for the day, right? So we really didn't see each other a lot. And he's like, well, something has to change because, like, otherwise you're going to kind of just, like, drain yourself into doing production work, which I enjoyed a lot. But because relationship was also important, he said, why, you have such a large network, why don't you just get the license, you know? And I said, yeah, it'd be great if I can just get the education behind, like, why am I buying properties and all of that. So, yes, he gave me the push for sure, but I'm actually enjoying
And she did some land assemblies for me, too, which no one else could do it, because she has those attributes that, you know, that she's not afraid to talk to anybody, and she comes across very transparent, so people respect that.
Yeah, a lot of.
So I had realtors banging on these doors. I had other people, they couldn't get the deal done. She walked in there and assembled the 3 lots and then got me the whole acre. I was like, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And I got a deal on the disc on the commission.
Yeah, so I've had some milestones in real estate as well. So I'm really enjoying that part. You know, now it's just the matter of like knowing how he does it. Yeah. So.
I was gonna ask you, what's this thing people keep saying that the bubble's gonna pop out here for real estate? Like the big bubble is. Do you see that happening?
Well, we're always in a bubble, right? At the end of the day, without here, I think the whole world's in a bubble. There's going to be some, in my feeling. I mean, we don't have a crystal ball, or we'd be billionaires already. But my feeling is that there's going to be a little bit more pain for another year or so. Mm-hmm. But the market still, because things went up too fast during COVID, which obviously everyone heavily leveraged and they got used to this low interest environment. That obviously isn't the case anymore, and I don't think it's ever going to go back to that case. We're going to have that low interest environment. We're going to run probably 4 to 5% in the long term. So it's going to be an adjustment. In terms of a bubble bursting, we have too much population here. We have too much real estate values. We have too much money here as well in the city. That here in Lower Mainland, BC, I don't see a huge pop. Will there be a reduction in price? We're seeing that now.
Yeah.
Right, but you're taking into account where real estate values doubled in a lot of cases, or in some cases, like we bought a property, industrial property in Chilliwack for $1 million, just over $1 million. It's $5 million now. Wow. Should it be $5 million? No,
yeah.
Right? Right? I mean, it doesn't cash flow.
Yeah.
Right? So those might come back and normalize a little bit, but I don't see a huge blow up. There's like that. I think that in our market, and especially in this world with North America now getting so much population immigration and outside money coming into not just here, but you see it everywhere. Like, why have prices gone up in the States all over the place? Toronto, right? Calgary, everyone's up, right? So I think that there's going to be adjustment, but again, there'll be another pickup. What's going to happen is there might be a couple more rate hikes, 0.25%, maybe even half a bip, in the next little short while, and then there'll be stabilization, is what I feel, and then there'll be a drop. And once the drop happens, there's going to be another boom.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's so much money on the sidelines now, and there's so much equity that's built up as well.
Yeah, and I think people are waiting too, right? Like, I'm sure there's tons of people that are just sitting on the fence line saying, like, hey, I'm going to save my money, and I know there's going to be a deal that's going to come up, and I'm going to close it, right? Like, right now, there is those deals that are happening for people that were, like, overinflated in prices, whether it be housing or commercial, and they are buying it. They're like, okay, this is the perfect time. Interest rate is high, but if you're buying it for like $200,000 less, it's good, right? Like, you're going to build equity way faster.
I mean, it is going to be tough. There's no question. I mean, especially when people got used to a low interest environment. And let's talk about the residential side of things. Everyone's home went up, minimum 30, 40, 50%. And if they leverage that to get more at a cheap dollar, now when they're going for refinancing, their payment's going to double. Yeah. But their income hasn't doubled. Yeah. So either they're going to ride it out with a credit line in the short term and hope that interest rates come down a bit, that stabilize, or there potentially could be an amortization extension, which I don't know how they're going to govern that. So it'll still, they'll try to keep the payment low. But again, there's going to be pain. There's no question, and we haven't gotten to the main pain yet. And I think we're going to start feeling it more if, like, I speak to a bunch of the senior banks and the charter banks are saying that a lot of the mortgages are coming up for renewal in the next 2 years.
That's what
it's like a little. I feel like it's a little bit before it because I see it too, and then it's like. Yeah. The people are like, they're trying to get like refinancing. Like, I see owners that like they're trying like 4 or 5 different people to go get refinancing, and they're just not being able to get it. No,
and then there's obviously things that will subsidize those like hopefully these residential homeowners have space for rentals and stuff because rentals going up, so that'll be a good mortgage helper. Yeah. Things like that. So people are evolving. Like, I know some of our own employee staff evolved. They built a suite now, and now they're collecting $2,500 a month. So even though their mortgage payment went up $2,500, that's subsidizing it, right? So there, or multiple people are going on the mortgages together.
Yeah.
So now a whole family moves in and helps sustain. But I mean, look, we've been living in mansions compared to if you go to places like Hong Kong or China. Right? Yeah. So it's just going to condense, I think.
Yeah, so it's going to be upwards now more, right?
Yeah, but we're probably going to see a slight downturn. Could be up 20, 30%. 30% probably would be extreme, but I think there'll be a lift again, right, in the next few years, probably in a couple of years. Wow. But you just got to ride out the waves. It's all cyclical.
Where does your passion for real estate come from?
Yeah, that's like...
just family. Because since my dad was, came from India, got into heavy mechanics, he got into excavation, he started building houses. I saw the dollars, and Dad became... successful during his time for a brand new immigrant. And I thought back then, I go, Dad's doing it. I'm born here. Yeah. Right? I should crush it. Right? And he was hard on my ass too. Like, he wouldn't give me money. He would just give me tools of knowledge and saying, look, I can, I won't give you cash, but I'll sign a mortgage to help you if I see the right direction. Right. And that's how I kind of, helped when I was younger and started off. And I started getting a lot of my own contracts of building and renovating. And I was getting, I built tons of Blockbuster videos and H and Block counting offices. And I'd make like $20,000 per just for doing a reno. So, I'd compiled, quite a bit of wealth just at a very young age that I was able to even buy stuff like Quiznos and things like that and figure out cash flow businesses at a really young age. But again, it was all inspired from family, right? Dad. And that was my base.
Having that role model is very important, right?
100%. Whether it be, your family or someone close to you or somebody on social media that you're looking up to, right? Just somebody that you can see yourself going towards and follow the course that they followed.
Yeah.
Right. It's not hard once you just decide and take action, right? And just learn, because the knowledge is there. And especially guys out there that are successful, they're open to discussing things with you and they're open to helping where they can, right? And giving knowledge. So you just have to take the initiative to reach out.
And like you said, use the tools. Like you took that opportunity and used the tools that were given to you. A lot of people don't see the tools they have and then ride the wave and then realize, okay, look, wait, I've missed out on a lot, and time flies.
Yeah, and I mean it's not entrepreneurship isn't for everyone, right? It is a lot of hours. Yeah. There is a lot of suffering. You gotta have thick skin, right? And even when you do have thick skin, in my case, you still lose it all at one point. Yeah. And then you got to start all over again, and you got to build even thicker skin. And I talk to a lot of friends that just have great careers and they're making a few $100,000 a year, and I always tell them they're smarter than me. And I said, why aren't you doing this in business? And they're like, I'm content, man. I live my life the way it is. I want to shut myself off there at 5 p.m. You don't, right? Yeah. So you're just a different human. Yeah. And he goes, there's nothing wrong with that, right? I mean, that's cool too. Yeah. I wish I could do that sometimes, right?
We're working on it.
Yeah.
How was it like when you grew up? Because like you said, you made a lot of money when you were young. How was that like handling like making a lot of money when you were younger?
That was tough because we were also growing up in East Vancouver, where there was a lot of racism, and we had I was friends with Bindi. I was in Tupper. I was in grade 8. He was in grade 12, and I was a fighter, so we got we just knew each other from back then. And then that whole circle, because the Indian community was really tight back then until the war started amongst ourselves, because we had a lot of racism going on, and we had to protect each other. And then we came to a level as we got stronger and bigger that suddenly we were the bullies, right? And then no one would touch us because we were just combined, and then we'd have nowhere else to fight, so we started fighting from within. So fortunately, because I had my role model like a dad, there was that fork in the road again where I could have went into the gangster route or I could have went into the business route. Even though back then we thought it was cooler because you'd had the girls, you got the lifestyle, right? But fortunately, my family, dad would just point me in the right direction, saying you can earn more than all these guys. Just start focusing on that, on that side of it, right? And I made those right decisions. And I had a good friends group that were even in the game that said, don't go this route, man. It sucks, right? You can't sleep. You got to watch your back. You got to do all this shit. And I'm like, just go on the other route, and we're rooting for you.
Yeah,
right?
I love that because I feel like in today's day, even there's a lot of kids that are stuck in that fork. Yeah, like you're saying, and it's a good thing to see and hear that there is that other way, and you can attain that same sort of success. It might just take a little longer,
and it's sustainable then.
Yeah,
and legit success is way more powerful and way more profitable than the other side anyways, because you're not afraid of it. And you just keep, once you know how to make it, like the guys that are on the other side of the game, they go through a tremendous amount of stress just being in that game and they have all the skills to be businessmen on the other side. They just don't know, that they haven't taken that leap. But they could make it way more on that other end.
Because they have that street smart.
Exactly. Yeah. Right? Yeah. It's just unfortunately, I mean, everyone's gone in different directions in life through their upbringing, and that's all they know, right? But it's before when we were growing up too, it was cooler to be on that side. Now it's cool to be on the other side. Yeah. Right.
It's cool to be the geek now, like you're saying.
Oh, that's what I was saying, man. I wish I hung out with the geeks in school, not the jocks. Because I go, man, they run like Facebook and Google and stuff now.
You're investing in like the Facebook apps and everything back in the day. Exactly. What about for yourself? Who were some of your role models growing up?
Honestly, I think my biggest role model is my mother. Like, just like the drive she has and the business side of things, because she used to have a beauty salon she ran, and like when we first moved here, it was all cash business, and she'd have like this little suitcase, and it would just always be filled. Yeah. I'm like, this is kind of cool, right? Like growing up at home with her, like she was very entrepreneurial. So I think coming from her side, like, growing up with her, giving her giving me mentorship really, really definitely helped me. My mom is still definitely one of my biggest role models. The kindness comes from her. He's always like, how is she so calm? I'm like, yeah, she has her other side too, but like, she's a beautiful person, like, she is who I look up to, and I want to be like her more, so.
Yeah.
Well, and you can imagine, when you guys came from India and just the work she had to do to.
Yeah, I mean, I remember there was a strike. I don't know, you guys are a little bit too young. There was a bus strike that happened with the BC with the NDP at that time, and there was no. And we would just take buses, and I had to go. I worked in the political realm at that point as a volunteer. I had to walk from 72nd and 120th all the way to 72nd and King George, which is a long stretch. My mom had to walk because we couldn't afford a taxi at the time. She had to walk from that same corner from 72nd to 120th to 96th and Scott Road. And she did it for like a month, and there was a time when like there was an insurance uncle that was next to us, and he's like, "Beta, tusi turi jande every day," and then he would pick her up and drop her off like a few times. But that's how driven this woman was to just work and like give us the survival. So when you see your mom doing that, you're like, "What the hell? I'm living the comfortable life. I'm gonna do it even more."
And those are just those inspiring stories that I still love hearing, because I'm like, even here it's happening.
Yeah.
Right? Dad still tells me the story back in India. You don't know, son. I used to go bare feet all the way to school, and I came to Canada with $7 or $8. We all that. But it happened here too.
Like, just knowing my mom walked for so long, she had like blisters, and I'm like, wow, that makes me want to cry, Like, but then also that same woman's putting money into like a suitcase, that she picked from India, the one that has the numbers, and then you pop it open, like, oh yeah, take $20.
Bank.
Take $20 for your whatever you guys want to eat, junk food you want to eat, But I know when I was in India and she had the beauty salon there too, she never said no to us. She just didn't have the heart to say no to us. And I think that's why we became the children that we are, like all my siblings, because we were never told no, right? Like, yeah, go ahead, do it. Go and experiment. Do whatever you like. So I think her growth was way bigger than ours, just being able to have like a family that's like kind of backward, and then her being like the most advanced person in her family. I think she's my biggest role model.
So how was it being like a teenager growing up here for you, like coming from India?
The first 2 years were terrible. I went berry picking, and I was like dark as hell. I was like black completely because I never wore any sunscreen and had any hats. So I did that. And I was a very city girl when I moved from here. So like berry picking was like, ancient to me. Yeah. So like strawberries and like, blueberries.
Berry picking's hard.
Yeah, picking. Strawberries are hard. You have to like squat all day and like do it, right? So it was really difficult, but I knew I was making money. And just a simple thing, like we didn't have couches in our basement, and so we were like on that little mattress, for the first month. I'm like, I want to buy a set of couches. So I remember earning like $900 after berry picking, and then taking my mom to like the furniture store and buying the first set of couches. I'm like, I have to do it. I felt like it was like my responsibility all of a sudden. I don't know why, but that's how I kind of.
But it's like that happiness in those little things, right?
Yeah.
Which go along with.
Yeah. So yeah, I was a very motivated, I guess, teenager.
Yeah.
At that point, but it was very difficult. Like I got bullied a bit, but I think being in the arts, being able to do Bhangra, being able to do dance, gardening, all of that, like I just incorporated all of those habits into my school year. So like I didn't really let bullying affect me as much, And I always talk about it. I'm like, I'm glad that happened to me then, because it made me such a strong person now. Like I wanted to learn how to speak in public. I wanted to do pageants because I'm like, I just want to be better, at whatever. People are making fun of me because I lack that. So like take it as a pointer to get better, not like I hate back,
Yeah.
So
which like even a lot of kids here have difficulty doing like public speaking, and I've seen you and you kind of like.
And it came with practice, right? Like I got into acting because I'm like, I want to be able to stand up anywhere and be able to talk and make people laugh. Like the reason why I go on stage is because it gives me butterflies, and I always call it the butterfly effect. I'm like, if you want to grow, you need to have the butterfly effect in you. Like anytime you're nervous, you're growing. So
it's like taking yourself out of the comfort zone.
It's one of the most like successful, like the best example to give yourself is like if you're not having butterflies, you're not doing anything different. Yeah. You're not growing. Yeah. So yeah.
So even you wake up at 4 a.m. What time do you go to sleep?
3 a.m. Don't take that extra hour away from me.
3 a.m. 3 a.m. Yeah, 3 a.m.
You take 5?
No, usually
Oh, I
around
got it wrong. Yeah.
usually around 9:30. We're in bed, passed out by 9:30.
7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
7 o'clock. 6:30, be like, 7 o'clock, you'd be like, it's so
No,
late.
7:30. We want to watch a movie.
No. 7 o'clock, you'd be like, it's so late. And I'm like, it's 7 o'clock. Right now, it'd be like late for him. I'm like, no. And then he's so funny. So I'll be watching a movie downstairs and I'll be like, should we watch the next movie upstairs? I'm like, I know what this means. He'd be like gone in like 20 minutes of watching that movie.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
How was the stem cell? Like you said, you went for some.
Stem cells from. So I had a shoulder injury from years of training, and it was my rotator cuff. So I tried to do all the treatments here with physiotherapy and PRP and all that stuff, and then eventually the doctor said, "Oh, probably got to get surgery done, right?" And so a few friends of mine that fight in MMA, they mentioned this place, and I said, "Oh, it doesn't hurt." So I started looking. I was like, they mentioned last year, and I started looking at more and more and more, and then we set up a consult, and then I originally just saw it in the Joe Rogan,
Yeah.
right? And I said, well, if this guy's talking about, maybe some validity to it, right? So then I actually set up a consultation, talked to them, and they said, sent in my MRI scans and everything. They go, look, come here. I mean, we're certain that we're going to see positive results from it. And I said, okay, well, what does that mean? They go, you'll eventually, because it's not really bad yet, it'll stop and it'll reverse, right? And it could take up to 6 months to a year. I took the shot in my shoulder. 2 days later, my pain went away.
Wow.
And I haven't had it since. And it was 3 years at a pain level of 3 consistently that went away in 2 days of doing it. And the more I researched it, it's embryonic stem cells, is you're basically putting, these neutral cells in your body that regenerate your existing cells and make them stronger. So, we not only do they inject you, but you also take an IV. So the IV then goes through your entire body and finds things that it needs to heal. And it heals them in time. So I'm still experiencing the effects. Well, I was telling her, I think my eyesight got a little better.
Oh, yeah.
Because stem cells also, are involved.
I think that's going to be the future of science for sure.
Yeah.
It's just in countries that are allowed to do it in a more free way.
North America allows it, but they allow it at the adult stem cells where you take it from your body and you can do all that stuff. Whereas embryonic stem cells are, completely different, and they're way more potent. They're 10 times or 100 times more potent than the adult stem cells. So it was just, so far it's been an incredible experience, but it's been too soon yet. So, I'm still waiting to say the pain's going to come back.
Yeah.
We'll come back in 2 months. Maybe he'll be 21.
He's getting younger.
He'll be younger than you guys.
It's reversing.
Do you think, you're successful, you made a lot of money, everything. Does money buy you happiness, do you think?
Buys comfort, right? I'm one that, I hate saying this, but, that when people say that money doesn't buy, happiness or doesn't buy everything, I go, it's because they likely don't have it, right? Do you want to wait in line when you're going to a thing? Do you want to travel business class? Do you want to have a nice house? Do you want to travel when you want to be able to travel? Do you want financial freedom? And if you don't, and you're content, and you're that person that, no, money doesn't buy me happiness, it's all the power to you. But for majority of the population, which I know, they want to have better things in life. They want, if it's not just for themselves, they want it for their family at least. I mean, do you want to give your child a better education? Well, you're going to need money. Do you want your child to go through hockey? Hockey's an expensive sport, right? So how are you going to give him the opportunity if you don't have the money to do that? So does money buy happiness? Well, if it wasn't even for me, I'd be happy if I could afford to take my son or my daughter or my parents and get them special medical treatment if they needed it. That would make me happy. So I think generally it does make you happy, right?
Yeah, I think you read it. You said it right. It's the comfort of it, right? It's not like saying like you want to see stacks of money sitting there. It's going to make you happy. It's what it provides for you and your family is important, because that's what we've done. The society as whole has made money important. So everything tied to it Like, you know, it doesn't matter if you want to eat food, you need money, you know. So having the most basic things in life is required.
Yeah, I mean,
money.
there's obviously a line. I mean, how much is enough, right? Well, the question also going to be, well, it depends if you're in, you know, philanthropy. Well, then it's never enough, right? Because you can keep giving back. So, you know, to me, it's like, and if you're really passionate about earning it, even though you don't need it, then why not do that and also turn your passion into giving back and changing the world to a better place with that money, right? So it's,
I think just being content, like if you reach a certain level and just being happy and content at that point is what is important as well. Because it'll get you greedy, right? Like the more you earn, the more you want it, the more you're going to spend. So there has to be like a line where you're like, you know what, I am happy right now. And if I get more, maybe it'll make me more miserable because I'm going to want more things, right? So don't be in debt for more money, you know, like that's what I think personally.
Because somewhere along the lines, I feel like you lose yourself a little bit. Either way.
And there's different levels. I mean, it comes to levels where you just made money and you want to, you know, buy those fancy cars. You want to do this. Then there's another level where, okay, now you're getting into, you know, buying luxury properties and you're, you know, flying private jets, whatever. Then it goes to a top level where none of that stuff matters.
Like you achieved all that. Also,
you achieved all. Now the money doesn't even matter because you can do whatever you want with it. Now it's like, actually, I want to change the world.
And
I want to end world hunger. I want to do something else with all this that I'm doing because it's going to give me true happiness.
But you won't get that until you're at that level. So you're always going to want it. Until you get to that level, then you're looking down and you're like, I want to spend it in a way where, you know, like we have friends that are older and they're at that level where they're like, we just want to now, we don't care about money. And then when I hear them say it, I'm like, really? But like you did. And that's why you got there, right? So it does happen. So we don't know, like it could happen to anybody, right?
Some of my mentors are billionaires and they're young billionaires, like just maybe early 60s. And I just follow suit from them. Like, you know, I look up to them and I'm saying, they're at a level now where, you know, one of them just rides his bike every day. He bikes it, goes to a couple of his projects, then he bikes it for a fancy lunch, has his few glasses of wine, bikes it to the grocery store, gets a nice steak, comes there, and then goes back home. And that's his life, but he loves it, but he's a billionaire. Right? And he goes, but before that, he had fancy cars, he went jets, he had all that kind of stuff, right? And he goes, and then it came to a point, well, I got this. If I need it, I need it. But that doesn't make me really happy anymore.
Then I guess that wraps into what you guys said in the beginning is finding your true purpose in life.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Because we're all in this, you know, bubble right now that we're just chasing. Because you're trying to level up financially. And once you have financial independence, then you change as a person. Like if I have unlimited money coming in every month and it doesn't excite me anymore, then you want to try finding another purpose. But you want to do something with that actually has value, not for yourself, because you start becoming unselfish then, because it's just it's plentiful. So then you want to start saying, okay, well, you know what? I want to build a hospital. I want to do something, and you see people's lives changing, or you might want to build an entrepreneur school to take kids and level them up, and then then that creates a legacy for yourself as well. So things just keep evolving, right? I mean, we're still young. I'm still 21, so I still got a few years to go, right? but there's the levels. That's what our passion is in the future, is to find ways in philanthropy, right?
Yeah, no, I think like we always focus on like the purpose as well, but like one of our purpose is to just live, right? Like live the life that's been given to you. So of course we want to do philanthropic stuff, and people, when they get to that level, they want to give, they want to do all of that, but you also need to just learn like how to live with what you have as well, right? Mm-hmm. We always want to hustle, we want to do all of that, but like just taking that step back and also like appreciating what you have. We tend to completely forget that, like just being able to sit here right now, talk about all this, and then what's happening out in the world that is going through such a hard time, like appreciating these times where,
living in the present.
We can drink water, we can have all these, we can go to sleep peacefully, like all of those things are so important. So
yeah, I think that's one thing we all lack is we're always chasing, and we have to remind ourselves that just being healthy is, it's a gift. And we've had friends that passed away, and I'm like, that I'd ask them too during their last days, and like, what would you wish for? He goes, just, I don't care about money.
Health.
I don't care about anything. Health.
Mm-hmm.
Health, man. He goes, if I could give all my money away just to get rid of this disease in me, I would do so. And that's when you start seeing the end of someone's life like that, it starts changing your perspective in life as well.
Yeah.
And how is that kind of like having like your friends and stuff like that, people around you, kind of like seeing like, is there ever a time where you're like, okay, like are these people being real around me or not?
I think over the years, especially because of the heavy financial loss I did have, I lost a lot of the bullshit friends then, where 10% stuck with me, and they're still today they're with me, but that 90% kind of put reality into my life that there is that around you, and it's since then I've tried my best to keep my bubble really, really tight and not let those types of people in my life. So it hasn't been affected since then. Prior to that, it was all over me, right? So that was one of my biggest blessings and learning curves, was finding out who true people are around you and truly want the best for you, and vice versa. Because, one thing that I always look at is like there could be one person that's trying to drag you down, but what they don't understand is the one person in your group that's leveling up eventually is going to level them up. Mm-hmm. So, if you think within your group like that, then everyone's going to eat and everyone's going to enjoy the challenge of leveling up and supporting each other. Then you have an ecosystem that you just continuously keep winning, because everyone's in that same mindset. But the one that's trying to drag you down, eventually you figure out and you just cut. You move on with life, right? And there's always going to be that. Sometimes it's family or siblings or cousins or something that could try to take you down, right? And unfortunately, you just got to draw the line in a lot of circumstances, saying, you hear this a lot I hear it so many times from young entrepreneurs and saying, hey, dude, I want to make it, but my mom's holding me back, and they started doing this, or they're saying you're not smart enough to go do that. Why are you doing that? And I just need some role model to help me. And I was like, and it's true. It's like you just got to let those people, do the thing, and they have their opinion. They can do whatever they want, but just make that more of your fuel to encourage you to level up.
Because you said something powerful. You were like, a lot of my friends, like the young billionaires, that's a big thing in itself, is like having that right circle around you. Yeah. And like you said, young people, it's hard for young people to cut certain people out of their life, whether it's friends, family, parents, because in our culture, we're so reliant on that family structure and our parents. And I feel like sometimes we get stuck, and sometimes they're the ones that are kind of pulling those opportunities away from us, and we're kind of stuck in that little cycle where it's hard to break free from that.
100% agree, and that's been, I guess, culturally, that's been our problem, all of us growing up, right?
Yeah. I think you just have, like you said, you have to step away from it and then really just, be respectful. I think showing parents respect is the most important thing, and making them realize, like, hey, you guys had a life as well when you were growing up and you wanted to achieve certain things, and we understand that you couldn't because of maybe your parents, but like we are living in a different realm. Like we wanna go all out, So making them part of that journey, like letting them experience what you're doing, So instead of like shutting that door and saying like like letting them see like, hey, I'm trying this out. Why don't you have this opportunity to come and look what I'm doing, So really being open with them as well. I think just educating them, because again, like they learned that behavior from their parents, right? So like we can't force that upon them as well, and then they don't know any better. So you have to be like, I'm doing this for my happiness. Either you come with us and be very happy, or just let me be for now.
Right? And you can't blame them for how they are. I mean, I look at their position and their struggles. Look at our parents they changed countries. They came here. They raised us here. They couldn't be selfish. They had no choice other than to make and earn a life for their family here. So when they look at us now, they're like, well, you're being selfish. I'm telling you to do something, you don't do it because you want to do your own thing, right? Yeah. So I understand their struggle. I understand what the pain and suffering they went through. So they just want comfort in us. They're trying to point us in the right direction, but they just don't know that there's a different world on this side as well, right? So you don't blame them. It's just like you respect them and saying, look, I want to go down this path, and it's the best thing for me. So please support me if you can.
I think educating them is the best thing, like making them that companion of yours, like we're doing something cool. I think you should be a part of it. You should be more young, whatever is going to help them at that point. But there was a lot of discrimination when they moved here, right? They had to dress like Canadians. We can wear our kurta pajama suits and go out there and kind of just be
Now
our
it's like
normal selves.
normalized, right?
Yeah, but it wasn't, right?
Yeah.
Like for our parents and our grandparents, they had to dress like Canadians to fit in, and they were still discriminated against. So they're coming through a lot of their own trauma, and
Yeah.
and it's our responsibility to get away from that, right? Like by educating ourselves, and then also telling our parents, like, Mom, Dad, I don't know what you guys went through. I know you guys had a really hard time, but we want to grow. Like this is that time of growth. So educating them is really important.
And they've had so much struggle in their life that you just have to respect what they're saying, what they're going for, and just be respectful on their end, but just do what you got to do in order to level up as well, right?
Yeah, and letting them know that you're going to be there for them all the time. Like loving them, telling them that you love them. I think that's so important because we forget to do it. Like my dad will call me now. The end conversation's always like, "Love you," Like that's not normal for our families. Like even with his parents, his son, love you. It's like just showing that we're able to communicate. With my mom, she'll get shy, right? Like I'll be like, "Okay, Mom, love you." She'll be like, "Okay, right?" Like yeah. So like I'll give her a big hug, big kiss. Like make them feel like they're wanted. They're part of our life. So that's really important.
It's true because I feel like sometimes we're so caught up in the rat race we forget about the little things.
Yeah.
We could all drop dead. Anything could happen.
Like our parents are living for, like, I'm sure your mom loves to come and see you, give you a hug. Like, and if you're like, oh, like,
And
what
we
are
get
you doing?
annoyed.
Like, we do. Yeah.
Give her a hug back. Like, give her all that love.
It's the littlest thing. Sometimes even them cooking for you.
Yeah.
That
Like,
means
I
the
love
world.
going home. But then what I'll do is,
Yeah.
she'll make her make she'll make a meal for me, then I'll do all the dishes.
Yeah.
So like, it's like, hey, I appreciate you, like, thank you. So really giving back to your parents, because we're not going to be around for a long time. When they're gone, then do you want to grieve and then say like, oh man, we never got to never do this. So yeah, be very close to your parents, give them respect. I think that's important.
But necessarily don't fall in the direction that they push you to go into, right? Right? So,
You don't have to be an engineer.
yeah, exactly.
I'm just going to ask them if they need to leave.
Yeah.
Oh my
You guys
ears.
gotta.
How much longer?
Dan, what are we at?
I think we're...
An hour and a half.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Wow. Should we wrap it up then?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, I think it's good.
we can wrap it up.
So to end it off, from both of you guys, you as an entrepreneur and yourself as an entrepreneur, what's one advice that you'd like to share to any upcoming entrepreneurs, anyone that's kind of lost in today's time? It's tough. It's, prices and, it's a struggle for people to even buy their first homes now.
Right.
A lot of people are like saying like, in today's world that we might not even see our first house ever. Right. So what's an advice you'd give to someone that's trying to achieve all those goals that,
Well, it depends what goal you're after, if it's like real estate or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, what it comes down to is one word: action.
Yeah.
I mean, you can start contemplating and thinking about whatever you want to do. But if you don't take that step and take that trial or whatever it is, I mean, if you want to start a business online with AI and you just keep contemplating it and you don't push it and you don't study it, you don't do anything, it's not going to go anywhere, right? So I think, in my opinion, real estate prices might be high, but also the potential to earn now is huge if you have knowledge. We didn't have the internet on our side, right? We didn't have podcasts, so we didn't have anything of this stuff going on, right? We didn't have ways to even learn, right? Like when people came up with all these different things with Bitcoin and all that kind of stuff, I don't know where to start. I go, I wish I
NFT.
Yeah. So I think is when if you want to level up in this world or just begin to start to leveling up in this world, just find a direction and just follow it through, right? Just do not keep thinking about it. Just make it happen. Make those mistakes, especially when you're young. Do what you got to do now, because all you got to do after is brush yourself off, get back up and continue to do it. And eventually something's going to stick and you're going to win. So action.
What do you think is like the hardest part? Like even for you, like what is that one thing that you think that could get you to the next level?
Hardest part, I feel like you said, is just sometimes taking that action, right? Taking that first step. And then sometimes you get caught up in that world where you're constantly comparing yourself to someone else's life. And that's where that social media comes in.
Yeah.
Right.
And I feel like the biggest thing and the hardest thing to understand is patience, right? And just keep working away and being patient with the timing of things.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that, like, for me, what always works is, like you said, having patience and consistency, right? Like, you want to go really big, right? But if you don't have the right kind of direction, you want to stay consistent till you figure it out. So your failures will help you stay consistent, you know. So for me, consistency is the key. Like anything that I'm doing, if I'm just consistent at it, I'll grow it. But if I'm like, if I want to go big really, really fast, then I'm going to get scared and I'm like, this is not going to work out. There's too much money and I'm just not going to do really well. So for me, consistency really works, you know, just doing the same thing, repeating the same formula, because that's what's going to get you, that's going to be the key to your success.
And create milestones. I mean, an example was, you know, a young entrepreneur was just speaking to me the other day about something he started. He was motivated with how I started off, and he asked me for advice. And he started an Amazon online business and just selling a product, right? And he goes, and I said, you know, we talked a year ago, and he was just thankful that I motivated him to go and do it. And I said, okay, well, you know, how'd you start and what happened? He goes, like you had said, just stop bullshitting and talking about it. Just start doing it. So I figured out Amazon. I did this, and I had told him that just create milestones, right? Just, you know, when you sell one product, celebrate. Yeah. When you sell 10, celebrate. When you sell 100, celebrate. He celebrated, partied off when he did sell one. He goes, he took my advice. Yeah. He sold 10,000 units. And he's like, dude, he goes, bro, I'm making $60,000 a month profit thanks to you, just because I took action.
I need to learn this Amazon business.
But that goes a long way, right? And that's even for this podcast. Like sometimes the tiniest thing someone shares can go a long way.
No, absolutely, right? We're all capable of it. We just got to decide.
And it's because of this podcast, it's going to inspire somebody. Somebody's going to be able to hear something from him, you, him, me, right? Like, hey, she did it. She's just a normal girl that came from India. If she did it, like, I have the capability too, you know. So I think that's the message. So consistency is the key, and it's not just like a flaky thing to say. It actually is. Like staying consistent, you know, on it. Like whether it be your workouts, just if you're gonna stay consistent, you're gonna get stronger.
It goes for everything. Having a strong relationship, having a strong physique, having a strong business. It's just consistent. Every day you're working on it.
Showing up. The days you don't want to show up, just show up.
That's more important. When you don't want to show up, you're there. Because then you get a real sense of accomplishment. Even in a workout, those workouts usually on the shittiest day when you just didn't want to work out, after that feeling, you know, oh my God, you're like, man, I pulled it off, and you conquered yourself. Yeah. When you conquer yourself, you can conquer anything in this world, right?
100%. Well, we appreciate both you guys coming on. We had a lot of fun, learned a lot. Thank you. So we're the Bains and Beers,
and we're out.
Well, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Signing off.
That was good. I didn't really.
You're next.
Yeah, you're up.
That was really good. Thank you guys.
How did you guys feel? Awesome.